I just got the same in. Look. Hey.
Check, check, check.
Morning, everybody. We're going to start the meeting. It's not me because I am unmuted. Everybody ready to start this meeting?
Happy beginning fall.
We are all ready to go. So we have introduction of members as we're going to convene the meeting. We have introductions of members. Tammy, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Tammy Nuccio, representative of the 53rd District, which is Tolland, Willington, and Vernon, and also the ranking member of Appropriations.
Button. Ooh, gotta learn my buttons. Good morning, everybody. Oh, yes, you do. Oh, let's keep this humor going, okay? Good morning, everybody. My name is Tony Walker. I'm state rep from New Haven, 93rd District, and I am the House Chairman for the Appropriations Committee. Oh, and co-chair of the Advisory Committee. Thank you. You can do my body.
Good morning, everyone. Jeff Beckham, Secretary of OPM. Happy to be here.
And co-chair of the
Apparently co-chair of the Higher Education Financial Sustainability Advisory Board.
Greg?
Good morning. I'm State Representative Greg Haddad. I represent the 54th District, which includes most, but not all of Mansfield, but notably includes the main campus of the University of Connecticut. So my district the volume just pumped up a lot. We had 13,000 returning students move into dormitories over the weekend. I am the chair of the Higher Education Committee, and I am the chair of the subcommittee of the Higher Education Subcommittee of Appropriations.
Corey?
Good morning, State Representative Corey Paris, representing the 145th District in Stamford, Connecticut, Vice Chair of the Appropriations Committee, and also a member of the Higher Ed Committee as well. Thank you.
Senator Slapp, if you want to introduce yourself, please.
Yes, thanks, Senator Austin. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for indulging my virtualness this morning. My name is Derek Slapp, state senator from the 5th State Senate District, so West Hartford, Farmington, Burlington, and Bloomfield. I am the Senate Chair of the Higher Education and Employment Advancement Committee, also on the Appropriations Committee and on the Higher Education Subcommittee and Appropriations. Good to see everybody. Thanks.
Representative Sanchez?
Good morning, Representative Sanchez. I represent the 24th District. I am the House Chair of the Labor and Public Employees Committee, a committee member of the Appropriations Committee. Thank you.
Senator Gordon?
Good morning, everybody. Jeff Gordon, State Senator, 35th District, 13 towns in Northeast and North Central Connecticut. Happy to be here, at least by Zoom this morning, and I'm a member of the Appropriations Committee.
And I am Kathy Austin, and I am the Senate co-chair of Appropriations and a member of this committee on the Higher Education and Financial Sustainability Advisory Board, also co-chair of this committee. And we had another person join us, Representative Dathan, if you want to introduce yourself, please.
Good morning, folks. I'm Lucy Dathan. I represent the 142nd part of Norwalk and New Canaan, and I'm delighted to be here today to talk about higher education. And so thank you to the committee and everyone who's working on this effort.
Thank you. And Representative Walker, do you have any further comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm looking forward to the work that this committee is going to do because, as we all know, higher education is a critical part of our state and it's a critical part of our workforce. And it's also a way of understanding our people and our connections. I'm excited that we are going to look at it from a perspective that addresses all the things that we have seen have some challenging points in their budgets and how we can work with them and all of us together to improve the quality of information and also improve the quality of flow of dollars to support in the ways that we need to do that. So I look forward to this and working with all the members here today. Thank you.
Secretary Beckham.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm happy to be here on behalf of Office of Policy Management and Governor Lamont. Governor Lamont agreed with the legislative leaders last session that a board like this might be useful to have continued the conversation we've been having the last several years about sustainability of our higher education systems and their financial position. So I'm happy to be here, and it's always a privilege to be able to do this work, and I try not to take that for granted. I'm thankful for the opportunity personally and on behalf of the governor. The higher ed finances in our state are a complicated set of systems, as I think most people know. So for the edification of folks listening at home and any other stakeholders who may be monitoring the work of this board, just want to remind folks that the state's support of our higher education units is but one of their revenue sources. They have multiple sources of revenue and multiple tools at their disposal to control their budgets and to sustain themselves going forward. We've had a robust discussion in the last couple of years about that. We're working in a higher education market, for one thing. It's many things, but it's also a market with supply and demand, and we need to be responsive to markets. There's been a lot of changes in our country demographically, and the higher education market in the United States is different than it was just a few years ago. So that's one of the challenges that we have. It's one of the challenges that the systems are grappling with. Systems all over this country are grappling with this, as a matter of fact, and I hope to hear more about that as part of this conversation from some of the experts. We've been working at OPM with some consultants who have some national experience on that. So we'll be hearing more about that, I hope, as part of this effort. We are transitioning. We're moving into a transitional period with regard to state support or public support. I'll put it more broadly, of our higher education units. We've all been the beneficiaries in the last couple of years of a large outlay of federal funds that have come to us as a consequence of the once a century pandemic. Those were one-time revenues that are more or less obligated now, and they are more or less in the past. I would be, no one would be happier than me if the federal government, after the outcome of this fall's election, decides next year to send more money to the states in this effort. Be happy to receive more money from the federal government, but I'm not expecting that, and I don't think that that's what we ought to assume. So we'll need to be thinking a little longer, a little harder about how to sustain these higher education systems that we have. They are world class. We're very proud of them. We don't want to do anything to diminish the experience or the opportunity that our residents have, and indeed that other people have from outside the state to come here, get an education, and maybe stay here. So I'm happy to work on all those issues going forward, but we do have some challenges. The systems have some challenges going forward, and happy to be here to work on those.
Representative Haynes, would you introduce yourself, please?
Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here as well. Looking forward to seeing what we can come up with in regards to sustaining our higher ed. So again, thank you so much for being here, everybody, and looking forward to the work of the committee.
Thank you. So I just want to go over a data request that was put in by the chairs jointly to the higher education systems, and they are as follows. A detailed multi-year financial report that identifies each revenue source, expense category, and any assumptions upon which the reports are based. A detailed plan that eliminates a deficiency if the fiscal year 2025 or fiscal year 2026 financial reports projects a deficiency. A summary and general ledger account code analysis of each institution's unrestricted net position for fiscal year 2025. Per semester graduate and undergraduate headcounts and full-time equivalent for credit, full and part-time students disaggregated by in-state, dual enrollment, regional New England Board of Higher Education and out of state. The number of vacant and filled positions disaggregated by each bargaining unit and non-represented employees with corresponding average salaries and corresponding semester credit hours taught from the first payroll in October, separately reporting full-time and part-time positions. A summary of the institution's cost drivers, including applicable expense, revenue ratios, metrics, and/or outcomes, and a summary of budget constraints along with applicable expense, revenue ratios, metrics, and/or outcomes affecting workforce developments, economic development, and efforts in student quality of life, including time required for degree completion and research productivity and faculty retention and recruitment. Current organizational charts with position title and occupant by institution, administration, and each entity and location, including a clear delineation of the reporting structure and shared services. And so we have gathered this information, and this is part of what we'll be talking about over the next few meetings. We are also suggesting that we meet at least once a month, not quarterly, because we think that in order to have a discussion, we need to meet more often. As such, we are proposing that the next meeting be on Monday, September 9th at between 2:30 and 4:15 p.m. We think that that is a time that we could all get together, and the following presentations would happen at that meeting time. CSCU would present on the PAC program, sort of telling us everything that's associated with the PAC program, how many students, who is actually paying for our community college system, and where we stand. And we also are going to have a presentation on from the National Center for Higher Education Management Systems. And those will give us a good starting point. In the interim, all the data, if you have not already gotten it, will go out to the committee for you to review and look at the data. That will get us, again, moving forward. Are there any questions? Representative Walker, followed by Representative Nuccio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I also want to add that once you get the list of things that we have requested, this was done in July because we realized it was an enormous amount of information. It's a good foundation, but there are several other areas that we know we need to expand on. And I know the Higher Education Committee had had a report that they were working on that I think can fill into the gaps of some of them, and the things that we don't have. Please send your request to Madam Administrator so that we can incorporate that in any additional funds, any additional information that we need. As we go monthly and we look at it, there may be a time once we get past the fall season, as we all know, we might increase the meetings to a couple of times a month just to continue so that we can get into the details of the specific things that we've already outlined and the things that we need to go forward with. I think having the National Center for Higher Education and Management System is good because they're going to give us a view of what's going on in the country so that we can also make sure that we're in line with what's going on. And we have made those adjustments and those changes that we feel will be necessary to keep us current and even go into the future. And I hope that everybody will try very hard to keep an open mind and look at what everybody needs in there. I just want you to know this morning when I came in, I live right down the street from Southern. And I have to call the president, but It is so crowded that they are parking all the way down my street. There are people lined up to get into the school. I hope we have the staff there to greet them and register them. If we have to, get legislators to go help register. But we want our kids in school and we want them there in the morning if it's convenient, and in the afternoon and in the evening. We want to have a flow of information and expertise developed more so than we've ever done before. So I look forward to the work that we're going to do, and I look forward to working collaboratively with everybody here. This is all about helping Connecticut, not belittling it or putting it down.
Representative
turn.
Nuccio.
No, it's your
I'm like, girl, why are you looking at me? Yes, thank you. So I tried to follow everything that you were saying, Kathy. I do have a few, sorry, Madam Chair. I'm trying to think, there are a few things that I don't know if you said that I think we might want to consider. One is how many classes are taught by tenured professors and how many are taught by adjuncts. I'd like to compare that to other schools. Another thing is, I know a lot of our schools offer hundreds of degrees. I'd like to understand how many people are actually in each degree and graduate with those degrees, so we can look at a cost benefit analysis. And I know this topic isn't going to be popular, but I'd like to also look at a cost benefit analysis of the sports costs and benefits to see what they're bringing in for income, how that balances off the expenses of those programs, and whether or not they are funding themselves. So those were three, and I don't know if they were on there. You kind of went through them quickly, and I had not seen that report. So those are the three that I can think off the top of my head I'd like to add. Okay, I can also send it to.
If you could email that to her
Yep.
too, so that we don't misinterpret anything.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Representative Dathan?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I admire all the things that are on the list. It sounds great. One of the questions we talked about during the higher ed working sessions and appropriations was the effects of the community colleges combining and the consolidation that we saw. I have a lot of concerns with that. Norwalk Community College, now CT State Norwalk, is in my district, and I hear stories from both professors as well as students about student outcomes. And I have some concerns about, I had one student come to me and say that their chemistry lab is taught remotely online. I did chemistry in college. I wouldn't want to be mixing chemicals in my house because that's how you learn, is hands-on learning, and had some concerns with that. So I'm hoping that we can look at the consolidation, look at the student outcomes, really get an understanding, because when I joined in 2019, we heard about all of the benefits that are going to come out of consolidation. And I'm not 100% sure and sold that we're actually, one, receiving the financial benefit from them, but also really that the student outcomes are where they need to be, because we need to make sure our young people who decide to go through maybe the PAC program are getting the education that they deserve. So thank you for considering that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Paris?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, while we're adding to the wish list, I just want to be sure that we are paying attention to wraparound services as well. And I know that we've had a lack of resources for wraparound services, not just at our community colleges, but within our state institutions. I know that Representative Haddad hears about me complaining about this all the time, but I am hearing from parents and students really concerned about the lack of counseling services, career service opportunities, cafeterias for that matter, and libraries being open. So we want to get these students here, which is what the good chairwoman had suggested. We need to make sure that we're keeping them there with all the resources possible. So I think that there is a cost analysis, a cost benefit analysis that we can look at in terms of the retention and recruitment of students and how that relates to the wraparound services that are being provided across our state. And I think that we should really look at that, because I think that's going to be a big economic engine for us moving forward. Thank you.
Representative Haddad?
Thank you, and I appreciate the extensive list. I mean, I think it's going to be a very effective strategy to do a deep dive into higher education and, as you said, the complicated nature of their their budgeting. Two things I wanted to make a point on. One is just, it's not just important that we do it because we care, of course, about the outcomes for students in our state. But it is a constitutional obligation to run an excellent system. It's embedded in our state constitution, and sometimes I think we forget, how important this has been to our state. To add to the list of requests, I'd like to see if we could get information from the systems about capital costs. I appreciate that all of our institutions are great, fine institutions, but it's hard to use a word like excellence when you're standing in a gymnasium at Western where the ceiling is literally collapsed onto the floor, which is still wet, as Representative Paris and I did last fall. Or to go to, I'm sorry, yeah, or to go to Tungus Community College and hear from students and faculty about how snakes are literally falling from the ceilings because apparently there's a snake habitat nearby, and they frequently make inroads into the building. Or at UConn to walk into,
What
Torrey
kind of
Life
snakes?
Sciences building and to see.
What-
I'm definitely afraid of snakes. If I saw the head or a tail of a snake, I would go the other way. I would not stick around to
I want to
identify
know
it.
if they're rattlesnakes.
I do not
that's
know.
all.
I don't think they're rattlesnakes.
Okay.
Or Torrey Life Sciences out at University of Connecticut, which is a 1950s building. Certainly not a place to do state-of-the-art biology research. And so there are a lot of pressing capital needs, and I think that we need to think about how to do that. And that will, of course, have an impact on their ongoing budgets because as maintenance costs change for those things as well. And then the only other thing, I know that we've made a lot of inroads, and I'm deeply appreciative of the work that this legislature has done to help address the issue of unfunded pension liability and ongoing pension liability on what students have to pay for tuition. There's been a measurable impact on the way that we treat unfunded pension liability and healthcare costs and what students have to pay. And I'm just not completely convinced that we have successfully unburdened the student population for an obligation. Of course, it has to be paid, but that it should be shared equally by taxpayers across the state and not particularly or more burdensomely by users of our public higher education system. And so I'd like to ask the institutions themselves if there's been a cost shift to students as a result of some of the things that we did in an attempt to sort of resolve the issue. And I'd appreciate it if those things could be added to our agenda. Thank you.
Anybody online have any comments that they would like to make? And all those who shared things, I stopped writing at question 1. So I'm letting you all submit your questions in writing to Madam Administrator in writing so that she can, I said, I am not writing all these down. I think Jeff might have written them all down, but I am not. Does anybody online have any comments or questions? Seeing none, I would also like to say that, and I appreciate what everybody is saying, but I also think that higher ed is one portion of our budget. And, all of you have talked about the different portions of higher education that you find most valuable. I find most valuable community colleges. And I find that those are the people that are not having an opportunity and probably will never go to a 4-year school. They're people like myself who got out of the Army and went to a community college with a little girl who I didn't have a car, who I got one of those backpack things, and then I got a bicycle with a rickshaw kind of set up on the back of it. And that's what I used. And those are the people that I know. They're the ones that are taking PAC right now. I went to college on the GI Bill. And I just want to remind people that many of the people that we have in this state are going to go to a community college to get a trade, to get a job. And when there was an article that came out the other day on the eastern part of the state where 40% of the students in high school were never going to go to a 4-year school, never going to go to a 4-year school. They were going to go, if possible, we have made it possible for them to attend a community college. I'm a fan of Connecticut's CT State. I'm a fan of it because I think that it has provided information. I'd really like to see Representative Dathan's concerns fleshed out because I think that it's valuable for us to be able to provide things that I would never have been able to drive to another part of the state to take a different course. And that's not what's necessary now. And I think that that's important to recognize. You know, so when I look on it, I look at it as through the lens of someone who was delighted to get a 2-year degree and was delighted to be able to go to a community college and be successful. And I know many people who I've talked to who are going to take that community college experience and move forward on it. So I just ask you all to also balance whatever you're asking for the portion of the state that is not going to have that opportunity to go to a UConn or a Western or an Eastern or any of the other places. So I ask that you consider that in your thought process to make sure that we are balancing our needs of our residents in the state of Connecticut fairly. So that would be my point. We'll get the rest of this information together. Again, each one of you is going to email your questions to Madam Administrator. And I think that that'll get us in Monday, September 9th, 2:30 to 4:15 is our next meeting. And so I appreciate everybody coming together today. Representative Walker, did you have any further comments as co-chair?
I'm sorry. I look forward to the meeting and the collaboration that we're all going to bring to the table because it's that important. And just on your point alone, also, it's important that we also keep Workforce Alliance involved in all of this because that has so, as you pointed out, everybody is not going to go for a full degree, but the Alliance work that does in daycare, in teacher instruction assistance, in a variety of different areas, those and nursing, those are things that give the state immediate gratification in their economy. And so we have to also keep that in the forefront. So thank you.
Secretary Beckham, do you have anything else you would like to add?
I'm good. Thank you very much.
All right, so I'm gonna, this was a meeting to get together to set the stage. And again, we're gonna try to meet at least once a month and towards the end after, you know, after the election season, we're gonna try to meet a couple times a month or more to really get into in depth into this. And I know that the higher ed systems heard what we were going to have presentations on. So PAC program and the National Center for Higher Education Management Systems. So, yep.
I just want to also alert the state universities and UConn that we will probably be asking you to participate in many of these. So we appreciate and we will keep you informed. But again, it's got to be all of us around the table. So they are going to be, we'll try and give you the agenda as soon as possible. And hopefully you'll be able to bring whoever you need to come and defend or present, I shouldn't say. Thank you.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions, motion carries.